The most popular dessert is chocolate chip cookies. Whether you see them in grocery stores or fast food chain restaurants, you will always see different brands that come out with their own different kinds of chocolate chip cookies. However, this recipe is really easy to follow. It's great for beginners and you could make it at home. So, today I will show you guys how to bake these delicious cookies by providing information on how to prepare the ingredients, make the cookie dough, and help you guys store or serve them. So this is the recipe that I picked out. It's a pretty standard chocolate chip cookie recipe with most of these ingredients that you should already have at home. If you can easily find them by doing a simple Google search or even going on TikTok, but you will notice that some of them do have extra ingredients. That doesn't matter. It's just like flavor enhancing ingredients for the cookie, but this is the standard. So today's recipe, we will follow the half a cup of brown sugar, 1/4 cup of white sugar, half a cup of melted butter, which is one stick of butter, one egg, 1 teaspoon of vanilla extract, 1 cup of flour, half a teaspoon of baking soda, 1/4 a teaspoon of salt, and 1 cup of chocolate chips. So before starting on any food related services, you must wash your hands and clean the area. This is to avoid spreading any kind of bacteria, and we need to take care of our family and friends. So oftentimes in the recipe, they will call for room temperature butter. This is because they want your cookie to be soft. If you use cold butter, the butter won't properly spread, and then your end results will have flaky pieces of butter in between the cookies. For best results, I personally like using melted butter because it gives me the softest cookie. So when getting the ingredients, I recommend separating the ingredients and properly measuring them. This is so you can have them all ready to put them in the bowl, and it can also save you from avoiding the bad egg. So let's say you do put all of these ingredients in the same bowl and you end up putting an egg. What if that egg is rotten? Then you have to throw away the whole bowl and start over again. And we don't want to waste money while trying to create these delicious cookies, do we? And over here, you can see a picture with everything mixed together as once. And as you can see, it says that it results in inconsistent texture and flavor. It just looks overall like a bad cookie. When measuring the ingredients, you need to make sure that you maintain an accurate measurement. So let's use flour in this example. If you use too little flour, your cookie will end up being flat and it'll burn really quickly when it's in the oven. While if you use too much flour, your cookie will end up being dry and very flaky. And over here, you can see pictures of low flour and high flour. And then over here in the middle is a perfect cookie with just the right amount of measurements. When making the cookie dough, you will grab a bowl and we'll call this the wet ingredient bowl, which has our butter, eggs, sugar, brown sugar, and vanilla. We pour in our melted butter into the bowl and then we put in our sugar, but make sure to sift the sugar to avoid any clumps. And we also add the brown sugar. One thing about brown sugar is that I don't recommend sifting it because it tends to get stuck into the little holes of the sifter. Then we add our vanilla and our eggs. Remember to crack the egg on a separate bowl so you can avoid the bad egg. And then next up is our dry ingredient bowl, which we will put flour, which we need to sift to avoid the clumps, and our baking soda. And lastly, our salt. Make sure to sift them all to have this very smooth cookie dough. Mixing both bowls, pour the dry bowl ingredients into the wet bowl ingredients little by little. When I say this is because we don't want to put all the flour in at the same time because it will create a cloud of flour and we don't want to mess. And apart from that, it also messes up with our accurate measurements. We need to ensure accurate measurements for our cookies to be perfect. And lastly, your cookie dough should be sticky, and using a spatula, mix in the chocolate chips to your dough. This sticky dough is normal. And for this next important step, you cannot skip, because this is what makes your cookies this is what makes your cookies look good. It's chilling the cookie dough. So you need to cover the bowl in plastic wrap and chill it in the fridge for 1 to 3 hours. So over here is a picture of if it's baked right away. You can see it's pretty flat. And then the second picture is where it's chilled, and you can see it was soft and very fluffy. Like, after your cookie dough is chilled, you preheat the oven to 350 degrees Fahrenheit. You lay a tray with parchment paper on it, and then you scoop the dough into 12 even balls. Once it reaches 350, leave the cookies in the oven for 12 to 15 minutes or until they're golden around the edges. The cookies are ready, so leave the fully baked cookies on a chilling rack for around 10 to 15 minutes or immediately flip the cookies over. This is in case you don't have the chilling rack. So what I like to do is flip the cookies over because it tends to flatten the cookies out and they look more perfect. So after they're done chilling, if you want to eat them right now, you can place them on a plate and share them with friends immediately, or place it in an airtight container at room temperature for later consumption. And make sure it's an airtight container so it can preserve that freshness feeling. Congratulations, you now know how to do cookies. So, in conclusion, these cookies are super delicious and easy to make, and as long as you know how to prepare the ingredients, know how to make the dough, and you know how to properly store them away or serve them, it should be a fun experience. And in case you guys want to try this cookie recipe, I'm gonna leave it right here for you guys. And thank you so much for listening to my presentation. Thank you.